All right. It's late at night. I've always wanted to do this, so I'm recording a video. It'll be up on YouTube, and I'm live on Twitter Spaces. All right. Yeah, I've wanted to do this for a bit of time now. It's called the history of the cousins who are. It's money, it's language, biology, and man-made innovation, and how these things interrelate. It's important to, like everything has got an evolutionary trail. There's a trail of where anything and everything comes from, and I'm not sure what's going on my Twitter there. All right, okay, cool. All right. So there's a story of where everything comes from. Everything has got a history. People have got a history. We've got parents. We've got grandmothers, grandfathers, and they've also got parents, so on and so forth. And I want to show how everything is conjoined. Human beings being the innovators. We were the ones who created the cars. We are the ones who created all this innovation. So it seems that we are the species, rather the only species that can innovate layers upon layers. So it's been found that other animals do innovate. Chimpanzees, they sometimes would carve out sticks, so to sort of make spears to go out and hunt mammal. Simply birds do innovate. What they do is they build nests. That's I normally see nest, and I think that's some innovation there. I guess it's ingrained into their biology at birth, and the stories of other animals doing some other forms of innovations, or and when I say innovation, I mean it in a man-made sense. Yes, biology does innovate. So we are human beings, so all these other living species, they are an innovation of nature. So on top of that, we as human beings, we can make, manipulate whatever nature has created, and create other innovations. We've done so with cars. We can innovate wood and make chairs. So we've got that capability, and we do it levels upon levels. Although chimpanzees can make spears, although birds can make nests, it's I would say it's just to that simple layer. But we as human beings, we take it layer upon layer, from making just a simple chair with wood. We can, later on, someone creates a motor engine, they infuse that, it becomes a wheelchair, electric wheelchair, or which is run by a motor, and from there on, the same motor, I guess, it's infused in a car. We put a chair into a car. It's infused in an aeroplane, which is an innovation that flies different to a car, and then it's incorporation, layers upon layers of innovation. So that's what we human beings do, and our capabilities. So as I said, we have an evolutionary trail. We come from the great ape family. Chimpanzees are, we could say, our indirect cousins. They've got there's a point where we diverged. They went their way, then we went our way. So I'm gonna keep looking at some data. Just hard sometimes just to cram all these things, but I will present them in a very simplified, understandable, not so filled with terminology kind of trail. I think that I would leave, for what I write. Basically, how I got to, speaking about, the history of money, the history of innovation, the history of language is that my sixth and seventh book being Innovate the Next, which is about success frameworks of innovations, and the other one is called Understanding the Fourth Industrial Revolution and Innovation Easily. That's the sixth book. So it kind of comes from that, and now I guess I'm taking it further, but I'm infusing several things in those in those books, and then sort of taking it forward. Now, all right, let's. So about 3.3 million years ago, there was our ancestor called Australopithecus. And sometimes I get the pronunciation of some of these terms a bit wrong. Yeah, I'm not so good with cramming numbers, and my vocab as well doesn't do so well with a lot of terminology. So, all right. So one of the earliest evidence of human innovation is stone tools aged 3.3 million years ago, found in Kenya. So that's the earliest, example of innovation. So meaning, kind of like apes are able to, chimpanzees rather, they are able to carve sticks and innovate, kind of like birds can make nests. Human beings, or rather our line, which is called the Homo, we are called Homo sapiens. So Australopithecus was an ancestor before, the genus Homo. So genus Homo is filled with, Homo sapiens. I'm sure you've heard of the Neanderthals, and then Homo erectus, and then the others, right? So 3.3 million years ago, stone tools were found. So meaning our great ancestors could innovate to an extent. So remember, sapiens only came about between 200 and 300 years ago. That's the evidence available of where human beings, of how long we relatively have been around and alive. So you can imagine from that point on, 3.3 million years ago, moving down the line until the genus Homo evolves, meaning from Australopithecus up until, which is another genus, and then up until our genus Homo, which the earliest ancestor in the Homo genus is the Homo erectus, who lived about 1.9 to 2 million years ago. So all these innovations were happening. From stone tools, the stone tools got a bit complicated. You can imagine up until now, today, in 2022, there's millions of innovations that we have made, or rather humanity, you could say, the genus Homo has made. Even our ancestors, they just have been compounding and converging and diversifying. We've got phones, we've got tables, we've got all manner of tables, we've got cars, now what do you call those cars, flying cars and development. Well, there's aeroplanes, there's trains, all this sort of innovations, all these things have been available for all this millions of, they've been evolving for millions of years. So it means biologically we are gifted to innovate. We simply make a chair, like I've given an example. Someone makes a motor engine, and then we combine that chair with a motor engine. It becomes a wheelchair. That motor engine is taken into an aeroplane. An aeroplane becomes, even those chairs are incorporated into that aeroplane. So we innovate layer by layer. So like I was saying, from 3.3 million years ago up until now, it means we've been getting a bit intelligent, right? Intelligent, because this is an evolutionary trait. Now these innovations were getting a bit more complex and complex and complex, and now some of them is really hard to imagine that they could have been made without language, because well, let me get into language a bit. Let me just speak about language a bit, or rather communication. I would say, all animals communicate in one way or the other. Trees also do, some sort of communication, but yeah, that's besides what I'm talking about. But you can look into that. So um, animals usually hang out in herds, in groups, and they've got like a common purpose, which is, to survive. Lions do that. Sometimes they collaborate. Different animals obviously have got, different levels of collaboration. So sometimes they collaborate to stay alive, I guess. Survival. So we human beings also have got that. We get together to survive. We hang out in groups, in herds, because that's how we survive. Two is better than one, right? Now, and imagine our great ancestors were making all these tools, stone tools, for hunting, for their different uses, and as they're innovating all these different things that serve utility to them, and then you wonder, some of these innovations, it's hard to imagine them outside of language. So I was saying that all other animals do communicate in one form or another. Usually it's through gestures. So there are several studies that have compared that animals do have um, usually are over 40. It was what the particular one I saw, it was about apes. They've got over 40, sorry, chimpanzees, I keep saying apes, chimpanzees, over 46 or so gestures that we human beings, or rather research has identified, right? And they communicate with these gestures. You sometimes see lions rubbing against each other, just, I don't know, maybe to show affection or whatever is it that they're trying to show. So that's their way of communicating. They also make sounds when they are happy, when they I guess toying around, playing around. So those gestures, those sounds are a way of, I guess, communicating. Human beings, we've got that, but now remember, we've got a cognition that can create tools, meaning we can have an abstract thought and then turn that thought into reality. I can think of, oh, okay, how this is how I'm going to kill um, my prey so that I can go eat, and then I'll devise, okay, maybe I can sharpen the stick. It's an abstraction, and then tomorrow I could be thinking, I need some sort of improvement. Maybe then I'll carve stone. It's called napping. I'll nap a stone. Uh, and then that's how our ancestors have been doing it. They've been finding all these different tools, maybe manipulating stone. Obviously first it was manipulating sticks, wood, and then later on to stones. Obviously, along the evolutionary trail, different minerals were were um, were found, and they could then be made, and then steel came along, and you can imagine. uh, let's take it back. You've got sticks, or you've got wood to make hunting objects, and then therefrom you discover that there's this thing called flintstone. Flintstone can make sharper objects than wood, and then along the line, we discover that we can actually mine certain minerals and make steel. So steel is a sharp object, is better than the two. All right. Now, as it goes forward, like I was saying, that our innovations get more and more complex, and it's hard to imagine them outside of language. So we can make all these abstract thoughts. We can innovate all these things that we've been innovating, as I evidence that 3.3 million years ago, stone tools were found. The fire along the line was found, supposedly by Homo erectus, which is like the alias, the ancestor in the genus Homo, which is a